Now, when you watch a sunrise once, it's beautiful. You know, most Americans may see one when they have an early flight, or maybe if they're Christian, they'll see one on Easter morning on a sunrise service or something. And whenever you see a sunrise, and if the clouds are right and the air is the sky is clear, it's very beautiful, breathtaking even. But when you ride 5 or 6 days a week, and you watch the sunrise every day, and then you watch it every week, and then your weeks turn into months, and your months turn into years. You watch the grass grow and the flowers bloom. You see the sun slowly moving north, and then once again back south. You see the birds and the animals migrating in the direction of the sun. You see the rains come, you see the fall colors, you see the winter and the snow, you see things dying off and then growing again in the spring. And you see this as you do this day after day, month after month, week after week, year after year. It no longer becomes just about the beauty of the sunrise, but it speaks something very deep to your soul, which is that you're not in control. You can't control the migration of the animals. You can't stop the sun. You can't halt the spinning of the globe. You can't make winter come or spring go away. And the more you do this, and when your months turn into years and your years even turn to decades, you begin to actually feel very much at peace, knowing you're not in control, knowing that there are systems and mechanisms that are taking place that you cannot and should not be in control of. For 3 of the years that we lived on the reservation, we were in a hogan, traditional Navajo dwelling. We were 6 miles off the nearest paved road on a dirt road, no running water, no electricity. The community we lived in, our neighbors were rug weavers and shepherds. And as we lived there, one of the first things we had to teach our son, who was about 3 years old when we moved there, is that water's not a plaything. Water's not a toy. When you have to haul your water, it suddenly becomes very valuable, and you don't play with it. You don't waste it. You don't let the faucet run. You don't just dump the water out. It's a precious resource. When you have to get up in the middle of the night to build a fire, you suddenly become concerned about how well is your home insulated, how efficient can you keep the heat in, or keep the cold out, or in the summer keep the cool inside. And you begin thinking about all of these things. And so living there, you know, one of the things I'm convinced of, where we have people today in denial of climate change, I'm absolutely convinced if we did not have air conditioners, if that technology had never been invented, there would not be a debate over climate change. If we didn't have electric lights and televisions, there would not be a debate over climate change. Air conditioners, lights, all these things, they remove us from the environment. You know, I now live in Washington, D.C. I travel frequently to New York City. You can literally spend weeks, even months in these cities without ever touching dirt. Every road is paved. Every sidewalk has cement on it. Every yard is manicured. You could literally go days, weeks, months without ever touching the dirt. Now, I'm not saying air conditioners are bad. I'm not saying paved roads are bad. I'm not saying sidewalks are bad. But what these things do is they remove us from our environment. They remove us, and they put us in this bubble where we begin to believe that our existence is not dependent on the environment. You could live in New York City and never see the dirt, never see plants growing in the ground, never have to plant your own food or hunt your own meat. And you could just waste it and exploit it and not care about it until that resource ran out. And so the more our technology removes us from the daily experience of interacting with the actual raw materials of our environment, the more we end up not worrying about it. When we lived in this hogan where we didn't have running water, we maybe used, between a family of 3 at that point, my wife and my son and I, we maybe used 10 gallons of water, maybe 15 gallons of water a day on a very busy day. Most days we probably use between 7 and 8 gallons of water a day. I don't know what the use for an average household in America is, but I guarantee you, with the flushing toilets and the running faucets and the dishes and the manicured lawns and the plants and the dripping faucets, I guarantee you it's more than 5 to 7 gallons a day. Is it great that we have running water? Absolutely. But it removes the convenience of having running water, makes us not understand how precious of a resource this is and how we should be working hard to conserve it. And so when we start thinking about geoengineering, when we start thinking about what if we could begin seeding rain and controlling weather and manipulating our environment, not for just one person, but for entire communities. The question is not, can we do that? That's an easy question. The question is, should we do that? And when we live in a world where the vast majority of the resources and the financial wealth lies in the hands of just a few people, we have already demonstrated when we can control something, we do not do a good job of distributing it equally. There's not an unlimited supply of rain in the clouds. If we seed rain in one area, we're removing rain from another area. Do you think that human beings should be in charge of controlling where it rains? We can't even distribute education equally. Do you think for a moment we would distribute rain equally? We can't even distribute money equally. Do you think we would distribute rain equally? No. The question is not, can we do geoengineering? The question is, should we? No, we shouldn't. No, we shouldn't. We have not demonstrated yet that we have the controls, that we have learned to control ourselves to the point where we can manipulate. And I would argue we don't understand the complexity of the environment well enough to understand what happens if we begin seeding rain in this place and removing rain from that place, and not effect that will have in a decade from now, but what effect that will have a few centuries from now. Again, we live in this Western culture that is so focused on the individual. Most families are lucky if they can think one generation back and one generation ahead of themselves. And this is where we need the wisdom of our indigenous peoples, who look 7 generations back and 7 generations forward We have to understand what we're doing today. Not only how is it going to affect our children, how is it going to affect our children's grandchildren's 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 grandchildren. I don't yet trust us enough to begin geoengineering. I think we will find the same thing we found, what we've done with oil and with other aspects of our natural environment, which is we're beginning to hunt the caribou as they're migrating north. And we feel like we're getting fat and we're eating well, so this must be a good thing. Because we don't understand how this is actually destroying this way of life and this ability to exist and subsist. Not for our children, but for our children's grandchildren's 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 grandchildren. So I would be very, very hesitant. I don't think I know our nation and most nations around the world have not demonstrated that we have not the power to not do these things, but the wisdom to really ask, should we do these things? That's the key question. And I haven't seen evidence that we are able to make those decisions as humans yet. I think it'd be better if we could just acknowledge there's some things we're not in control of, not because we can't do them, but because once we do them, we don't know how to control them. And we don't know how to distribute them in a just and healthy and way that allows us to subsist.
Thanks, Mark. It sounds good to me. I don't know if we have Dwayne Hepner available yet.
So you can keep talking. He'll be in at about 3:15.
Oh, okay. I have a couple I have a question, or I guess it's two parts. What do you intend to do if you're president of the United States, and how are you going to get others to agree with you?
Are you asking what my strategy is or what my vision is? I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Yeah, if you're the president, you have the power now and the authority in this physical realm to do what your visions are. What are they? What would you start doing? And how would you get others to agree to do those things?
At the heart of my vision, the theme of my campaign, is I'm advocating that we should build a nation where we the people truly means all the people. In his last State of the Union, President Obama was talking about our need for a new politics. And he quoted the Constitution. He said, "We the people." Our Constitution begins with these three simple words. Words we've come to recognize mean all the people. I heard that, and he got a lot of applause for that line. But when I heard that, I looked around. I asked myself, I said, when did we decide this? The Founding Fathers did not believe we the people meant all the people. Abraham Lincoln, who was a blatant white supremacist and one of our most genocidal presidents, did not believe we the people meant all the people. The Civil Rights Movement, as good as it was, did not get us to we the people meaning all the people. Having a black president didn't get us to we the people means all the people. Donald Trump definitely does not believe we the people means all the people. The challenge is that we've never decided as a nation that we want to be a place where we the people means all the people. And so this is the conversation. You know, we've been having this debate for at least the past 10 years. You know, in 2016, President Trump won by telling America that let's make America great again. Hillary Clinton responded in 2016 by saying, America's already great. At the Democratic National Convention, President Obama jumped into the fray and said, America's pretty great already. And then Cory Booker, African-American senator from New Jersey, he's now running for president. He was a rising star in 2016. He's on the main stage of the DNC. He's endorsing Hillary Clinton. And in his speech, he acknowledges that the Declaration refers to natives as savages. He acknowledges that the Constitution excludes women. He acknowledges that there was a 3/5 compromise dehumanizing African people. But he ended that section of his speech. Now, he was very courageous in saying that. He's more courageous than almost every politician who doesn't acknowledge these flaws in our foundation. But he saved his political ambitions by closing that section of his speech and telling the audience that, but these things do not detract from our nation's greatness. So if we have Donald Trump saying, make America great again, and the Democrats saying America's great already, we have African-American senators saying our history of slavery and Jim Crow laws and genocide doesn't detract from our greatness,